back to Questioning Sense with me, Matt. Okay, today, weather update. It's not a particularly nice day in South London. The summer has been obviously put on hold. So we're back to another grey, cloudy day. So all is not lost. What this does give me is the opportunity to review something that I'm going to wear today, which is more kind of associated with the winter. And that is the wonderful Bentley Intense for Men. Now, this is a fragrance that's certainly been around for a while. It's certainly been on the hype train for a long time. And thanks to the hype train, I got to try it and thoroughly enjoyed it. It's another one that's mainly appears on online retailers, so it's difficult to get a nose on. So, you know, it's another one that's going to be quite often blind bought rather than sort of sampled. Very few. I've not actually seen this in a shop. The only time I've actually seen this for sale in a physical sort of environment was when I took my family to Greece recently, and they had it at Gatwick. It was in the duty-free lounge, so that was the first time I actually managed to get a smell of it. And even then, because I was about to jump on a 3-hour flight, I didn't particularly want to spray it all over myself, so I only sprayed it on card. So in some respects, it was more of an informed blind buy than a straight blind buy, but what a blind buy it was. Great, great fragrance. So what we'll do is we'll just have a look at the notes and then we'll talk a little bit more about it as per normal. I'll give it a spray. I'm actually wearing it at the moment, but we'll top up for the purposes of the review. So let me get my glasses and we'll just have a look at the notes. All right, so this came out in 2013 and the perfumer was Natalie Lawson, and more of Natalie in a little while. At the top, we have bergamot, we have black pepper, and we have bay leaf. And then in the middle, or heart, we have clary sage, African geranium, cinnamon, rum, and woody notes. And at the base, we have benzoin, we have leather, we have incense, we have cedar, and we have patchouli. So let's give it another spray, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. So, boom, boom. Okay, first and foremost, before we go any further with the review, this bottle is immense. It's a stunner. It's really solid. It's really big. It's a 100ml bottle as well. Really heavy glass. The detail on the bottle is amazing. And, you know, just around by the spray there. They've really, really done a great job of the presentation on this. It's beautiful. And again, this is so cheap. I cannot believe, I know it's been said before, but I still have to, I have to reiterate it. This is as cheap as it comes, and it smells so expensive. It's this. I know. I'm sorry. I'm going to be, Mr. Cliche today. This smells niche quality. It really, really does. How this has been made for the money, I don't know, because everything about it is just luxury, and which is good. I mean, Bentley obviously are a car manufacturer of the highest order, so this sort of British German kind of project, or well, it wasn't a project. I mean, Bentley's been around for many, many years, but I think they're owned by VW now. So it's sort of German efficiency with British flair or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a car person, but they've made a really, really good fragrance here, and I think it's just stunning. So when you spray it, the first we can't talk about Bentley without talking about the rum in this, because for the first sort of 10 minutes it's incredibly overpowering, but in a good way. It's beautiful. You can't help but get carried away with your emotions when you smell it, because what you're getting is you're getting Pirates of the Caribbean. You really are. You're getting Johnny Depp and all his pomp and glory, being charismatic and fooling around and coming across as a bit drunk, which is exactly what this smells like. Only to start off with though, the boozy note excuse me, sorry. The boozy note is dominant to start off with, but it does kind of mellow. The pepper's there, you get a good hit from the pepper as well, but it makes for a very clever scent, and as I say, it has got that real niche vibe to it. As things come on and it runs on, all the notes start to blend together. This isn't one, I've banged on about it many times about note definition. You don't really get that so much with this, but what you do get is a very enjoyable journey. Its performance is very good. For the first hour, it's incredibly loud. For the first 20 minutes, it's ultra loud. That rum note is kind of everywhere. It's very, 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 very powerful. But it kind of calms down and sits down, and it becomes quite... Well, it's pleasant all the way through. That's not, I have to say that. This is a very, very pleasant wear. And, I suppose it would be more of a winter fragrance. You could probably get away with it in the summer if you're light with the trigger, because it does perform exceptionally well. Now, if we just have a quick look at the notes, there's something quite interesting here. When you go through the clary sage, African geranium, which I think is going to give some sweetness, you have the cinnamon's there, the rum's there, the woody notes are there, the benzoin, again, bringing a bit of sweetness, the leather, the incense, the cedar and the patchouli. They're all there, but they all come together quite well. What they do though, is they give an impression of amber. Now, there's no amber listed in here, which I find quite interesting, because as it dies down, you do get a real ambery note. Now, this has made me think, and I don't think anyone else has picked up on this before, but in 2011, Natalie Lawson did a project with Claude Montana, and she made this, which is called Graphite, which is possibly the best undercover cheap fragrance on the market today that I've found. This is glorious stuff. Very, very simple, and I won't probably do a review of it for the simple reason there's not a lot to talk about, apart from obviously the Frederic Malle-esque bottle that it comes in. This is a 100ml bottle. This is simplicity in a bottle. This is basically cedar and amber, and that's all you get from it. But it lasts. It's a good 10-hour long fragrance. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And I think when Natalie Lawson was working on Bentley, what she did was she may, and this is only me sort of, hypothesising, is gone back to graphite and gone back to that bag of tricks, because this is cedar and amber, and that's pretty much all it is, but it works so well. It's a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. And when this dries down, you get cedar and amber. Admittedly with other spices to make it a little bit more interesting. I mean, this is very, very linear, whereas Bentley isn't. The Bentley takes you on quite a journey, whereas graphite, it starts and finishes with pretty much the same smell throughout. The amber becomes a little stronger throughout the fragrance's life, whereas Bentley has quite defined stages. You have the boozy opening, and then you have the more complicated woods, and then you have the spices, and then the spices and the woods with a little sweetness that keeps it all going. So I'm not sure, but there are definite parallels to be drawn between graphite and Bentley for Man Intense. So, I personally think owning both of them is completely appropriate, because this one doesn't have the massive boozy attack that the first one does. This is probably more appropriate for the office and that kind of thing. This is the easiest dumb reach I've got. If I just want to smell like I'm walking through a forest that's been blown up, then I'll wear that, because this is great. Appropriate for everything and anywhere and anyone. Whereas Bentley, probably not massively appropriate for it's not as versatile for everyday wear as graphite is, for sure. This is more dressed up. This is more formal. You can rock it in jeans, I suppose. I mean, you can, as I said before, anyone can wear anything, anywhere, if you're confident enough to wear it. Now, Bentley is, I would imagine, probably going to appeal to, the masculine, people that watch this more than the feminine. But when it dries down, sorry, my throat's killing me there. When it dries down, it does retain a little masculinity. And also, I'm not sure whether many people have picked up on this, but when this dries down, this starts smelling an awful lot like Nasamoto's Duro, which is an incredibly expensive fragrance. It's over £100 for a 30ml bottle. This is £23, £24 for a 100ml bottle. So, price range, they're miles and miles apart. But there is definitely, it's not a clone of Duro or anything like that, but there are parts of this fragrance's journey that smell very much like Nasamoto's Duro, which to me is a great thing, because I love Duro. I think it's an amazing fragrance. It's not one I own yet, but it's a beautiful fragrance. So, if you want a bit of Nasamoto magic on the cheap, look at Bentley Intense for Man or Bentley Man Intense, because this is a stunning fragrance. It does last. Very loud for the first hour, slightly loud for the second hour, and then it's not beast mode. Some people say it is, but I don't think it is. It becomes quite soft on my skin, and by the 8th hour, it's there or thereabouts. It's kind of fading. It's done its work by that point, and it's sloping off into the background. So you'd need to reapply it if you're out for any length of time. Reapplying Bentley though is quite an interesting experience, because when it softens off and dies off, if you sprayed over it, it suddenly becomes all mental again. It gets really, really loud once again. So it's something you can't do subtly or on the quiet, for sure. I really can't say enough good things about Bentley. The fact that I had smelt it on paper at the airport, so I knew roughly what I was getting involved with. So it's not really a classic blind buy, but if you are going to blind buy it, then do it, because it's just beautiful. I understand it's not going to be for everyone, but I personally think it's great. And if you want an out and out cheapie, something that's really going to just make you happy for the hell of it, have a look at Graphite by Claude Montana, another Natalie Lawson's stunning frag. Very, very easy to wear, very, very cheap. A bit of a no-brainer, really. Well, listen, we've got quite a few more reviews coming up, so keep in touch, or simply like and subscribe would probably be an easy way of doing it. And we'll be back soon with another review. So, as always, thank you very much for your time. It's much appreciated, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.